don't have, we are selling our land, our resources to companies outside of Brazil to destroy the nature that the whole planet needs to be able to breathe, to be able to drink pure water, to have real nourishment, not these fake bananas you have in your markets. Mm, while our population is still starving. So we are talking about historical reparation of colonialism, of the effects of the European interference in the indigenous land of Pindorama. This is how the indigenous culture called this land for millennia before the 1500s, when the boats of Portugal, Spain arrived in this land, chopped it down in pieces, and started hunting for indigenous inhabitants in exchange of land. This is how the original landowners of Brazil gained wide extensions of land, which they continue wanting to assure their power while people are living on the streets without the possibility of having a square meter to plant their food, to feed from. So this imbalance needs to be addressed. And I do believe that this is an international conversation that needs to be brought into full vision. The shamans say that Brazil is the third eye of the planet. I have read about this many, many years ago, and now I see why. Because what is happening now, today, this week in Brazil, if you start paying attention to real media, you will see the manifestations of indigenous people who have been silenced for centuries, who have been silenced in our culture, that washed out, we call it whitewashed, a whole civilization that was on this land of South America, of Africa, of everywhere before they arrived. And now the same people want to establish a temporal mark of 1988 to make sure that the lands that were not already in contact in the white man system, to prove their existence there before this date, do not have the right to live their culture in the land, in the territory where their ancestors have been for generations. We don't even know how long. This is why we cannot prove, because the mark of indigenous culture is ancestral. It cannot be measured in the white man calendar. And now they're bringing a sense of urgency, putting pressure, probably paying a lot of money for the media to distract our side, so that we are concerned about what is happening on the surface, where the real protection of our planet, this is a global crime, this is a global genocide of a culture and of the whole nature they are stewards of. Because if you take out the territory, there is no indigenous culture, there is no stewardship, which means that our planet is going to be completely washed out, to be taken from, until we come to the place of living in a planet that is not habitable anymore. And coronavirus has already started to show us the indications of where we are going. It's not a random phenomena, because of how much toxicity we bring to the environment, because of how much we have interfered in the lungs of the planet. Our lungs are suffering. And most people in Brazil, this is why also I want to speak in English, because most people in Brazil will only listen to external media, because we have been programmed to close our third eye, to deny the fact of these people living on the streets, of these people being demonized. We didn't question for way too long the demonization that was installed by Christian church upon the culture of the serpent, about the people that understand the energetics of this world, that have the real power. the power of transcendence, the power of self regeneration, the power of eternal life, the real wisdom keepers. We have been put so many layers between ourselves and them. For me personally, being raised as a Protestant, in a Protestant German family in Brazil, it took me 10 years of traveling around the world, of deconstructing myself, of living in spiritual communities, meeting other cultures, meeting indigenous cultures of outside of Brazil, to be able to come back in Brazil and be able to cross the bubble that was installed in our psyches, so that we never look at our neighbor, so that we never look at, never ask what's really happening, so that we never question the place of privilege that we have in Brazil because of being European, uh, being foreigners that are fit into the white man system, because we are afraid of the exclusion that we made with them. We are afraid that if we enlighten that is what will happen with us, that if we see the imbalance, the injustice, we will have to suffer, as we know that they are being put into suffering. That's why we are blind. That's why we don't want to face reality. But I'm here to share with you that luckily, Earth is the mother of unconditional love. There is more than enough for everybody. We just need to learn how to share, how to stop being greedy and ethnocentric, stop imposing our culture onto others, because I'll tell you, indigenous people don't want the lands for their profit. They don't want the land to make money. It's not a competition of who will gain more, like we live in the Western world. They want the land to be able to live their culture, because their cosmovision is one with the environment, because they are one with the rivers, they are one with the forest. Their ancestors are the elements. So if you take out the possibility of an indigenous of living in contact with this reality, you are destroying the most precious and the real culture of this planet, because they have decoded the system of navigation, of living in co-creation, in harmonic co-creation with all the spirits of the land. This is why they have so much power, so much wisdom. This is why they are able to bring healing. And more we will see this will spread like wildfire throughout the world. Medicines, ayahuasca, ceremony, sacred chant, just their presence. Because for generations their consciousness has been operating in harmony, in symphony with earth. And as we are coming close to the apocalypse, be it because disease, be it because war, be it because at some point we die, we will need to be trained in the real energetics. We will need to heal our energy so that we can access higher dimensions of consciousness, so that in the afterlife, we get to have an afterlife. Because if we don't develop our consciousness, if we don't develop the muscle of transcendence, which is what they have, this is how they live, we are not going to have an afterlife. This is why we are so afraid. This is why we're so accumulating of everything. And these people hold the keys. These people hold the keys of a real spirituality that is able to free us from the controlling, the neurosis, the frigidity, um, the whole numbing system that we are living on, that is so addictive, that is so depressed, that is so um, out of integrity, that is so disconnected from the real joy. You know, this culture knows a different flavor of joy that they do need, that we do need to learn, that has everything to do with harmony, with collaboration, with oneness, with simplicity, you know. And it is really an opportunity for us to become bridges, you know. Sonia Guajajara gave a speech yesterday, and she was saying that we need to start enlightening business models that are sustainable and Being sustainable means that we start making a business with the people that are stewarding Earth's preciousness, you know? So coming to Brazil to visit an indigenous tribe, for example, in September, I'm taking a group of foreigners to go to the Amazon for a deep dive in the forest. This is how we collaborate one way, you know? But there's so many other ways because we all need real food. We all need real medicine. We all need to be brought back to reality, you know, to the experience of unity with this world so that we can remember what life is really about. So, I want to share some things with you, some facts of the this law, how unconstitutional it really is, because even in our constitution in 1988 there is an article 231 that assigns the right for land, the right of land for all indigenous cultures. So what's happening now is that they're setting a false sense of urgency so that it bypasses the delicate, the deep process of demarcation of land that will have everything to do with the cosmovision of the people inhabiting that land, how that source of water that is maybe kilometers far affects what's happening inside of their communities, you know. And we will need to start seeing as these bridge builders of how much more profit we all get to make if we support them in stewarding that, you know. We are coming closer and closer to systems of self-sustainable energy. In Brazil we have so much sun, you know, there is so much possibility of growing good food, you know, not only cattle that are just poisoning everybody with so much suffering of the ways that they are raised, but real food, you know. We this is the real richness that all of this is awakening to us so that we can start seeing how our calling connects with their calling. So it is very important that we understand how outrageous this whole process is, how much of a retrocess it is in the democracy that was supposedly installed on this system. One thing that we need to start seeing is crossing the boundaries of ethnocentry, right? Of this idea that our culture is the best, most civilized culture, is that the whole way that we deal with the earth, with the land as a property, is in opposition with how they deal with. And I believe that for our future, we will need to learn how to deal with land in the ways that they deal, which is much more present, relational, intimate, therefore stewardship, you know, because even the global crisis of climate, of environment, of economy, there is no centralized government that will bring us a solution, because the solution that the government has is always mass, and mass is always like tertiarization, you know, and tertiarization is always long distances that need to be bridged in ways that include a lot of intermediaries, you know, like we paying tax, like Brazil paying tax for the US to sell the food that our familiar economy like products, you know. All these intermediaries that are put there, they will only be smooth down so that we can profit with the things that we produce in our land by supporting local culture, you know. And this is what indigenous culture is like. They are communities that are intact, that have not been seen by the world yet, so they have not been listened to share how they organize themselves, you know. And I do believe that we need a group of anthropologists, social workers, economists, psychologists to learn with them, like to find new models of resource management that is much more local and self-sustainable. You know, that is the economy of the future. This is why Brazil is the third eye of the planet. So I ask you, pay attention to the media that is giving visibility to these people. They are the ones that have so much wisdom to share. And it might come out with a lot of anger because there is a lot of violence in the system that needs to be purged. And the only solution is historical reparation. And the thing that we need to acknowledge is that this is most likely not going to come through the opposition, you know, because they are still not not only denying the past of what happened, but wanting to continue still believing the same mindset, you know. So for the ones that have awakened to see reality, we need to connect the dots, you know, and build the bridges with the people that are already understanding what's really going on and what needs to be put into place for the health of the global system as a whole. This is the web that needs to be enlightened again. And there is one fact that has been shared recently by Ailton Krenak. If you don't know, I really encourage you to um, get to know his books. He's an intellectual indigenous that is really on the forefront of what needs to be said to the white community. And he has just recently shared that universities are now doing an active search in indigenous tribes to take indigenous people to universities, you know. And this is a fact that for most of us will seem like, oh, nice, they're giving them an opportunity, you know. And then I want you to think about what have you, even you, like really gained with a diploma from this culture. What is the lifestyle that a diploma of the white culture brings? It's a 24/7 non-stop work to pay for the rent, to pay for the food, to pay for everything. It's a slavery template, and it's in opposition with the co-creative template that the indigenous culture comes from, and that has been restored by our world, by eco villages, communities that are learning how to live in sustainable ways. So it is such a huge regression, like not taking out the value of all of it, because all of it is experience, all of it is social interaction, but there are so much more clever, rapid ways of learning, of perfecting your natural skills and talents. We are now seeing it with the internet, like being able to study according to um, your style, what you are called for study, during the specific courses and trainings that you need to do what you want to do instead of fitting into the box. So things like these need to be spoken to, because as with everything, we have been trained in an assistantialist culture that believes that we have all the answers. So we just give people the illusion, the expectation that if they get inside of our culture, it will be good for everybody. But some of us, are starting to see that it is not even good for us, that they hold the keys of real living, of real intelligence. If you see, it's just that the way of translating reality comes from such a different place than our linear narrative, but it's so rich for us to pay attention, to listen. It just awakens so much of our possibilities as human beings, as channels for nature's creativity, you know. And these are things that need to be addressed as soon as possible in infancy. This is why we are at the school, the Escola da Terra da Earth school, we are so concerned with the education of children, that we really bring children closer to nature, to start learning, to start developing properly. And these people are stewards of the original pedagogy of Earth, that has everything to do with circulation of energy through singing, through dancing, through feasting, through planting, everything that we love in the New Age spirituality has its roots so deep in all of these cultures, and there is a whole story to be enlightened there, if we just make sure that they will be able to stay alive. Because what is on process for such a long time is a cultural genocide. Like, it has still the agenda, it has the same roots in what happened in Africa. It's the same social engineering to create an white empire, and every expression of life that doesn't fit in there is first of all demonized. Because the first thing you need to do if you want to destroy a culture is to demonize it, is to create a shared narrative. And the ones that have power over the media, over especially the movie industry, the music industry, create a narrative that creates a bubble that separates us, so that when they start killing, when they start starving, when they start taking people out of their motherlands, we simply naturalize that, because in our unconscious there is deep down the Genesis, the Christian Genesis, where Eve was seduced by a serpent to get the wisdom of the discernment of good and evil, and for which she was punished with pain, with labor that would happen in pain, with a life of pain. For Adam, with a life of sacrifice, for to pay for the original sin. Sin means left. Left means moon. Moon means night, means internal, means esoteric, means powerful, means creative, means eternal, means spiritual. So, and we were given a meaning that demonized, that associated sin with the devil, right? The dark with the devil. And all of this cosmovision was brought by Europeans to this land to start the destruction of a culture, of thousands of cultures, first by installing a psychology that would make human beings uh, oblivious, simply uh, neglectful, or disconnected, numb, really, from the fact that our way of living, the big companies, are destroying these lives. Because deep down, our unconscious was programmed to believe that they are evil, that they are dangerous, that the wild should be tamed, controlled, educated. Because this is the same thing that happened with our nature. This is the same thing that happened with our spirit. When it first was born on this planet, it was born free and curious, full of eros, full of passion to explore this earth, to discover who one is within a culture, to discover its natural gifts, its natural abilities, what it brought to this world. We were taken from the real school of earth to sit down, to listen to theories, to data that clogged our brains, that programmed us to receive, repeat, receive, repeat, and mostly of all, narratives um, of conquering through violence, naturalizing abuse, naturalizing winning instead of naturalizing collaboration, because community is the real end of war. When we understand that our real community is our power, and that this power comes by joining the ones that already live in community mindset, that are the indigenous people. But this is what would shift everything on this planet, and this is eventually what will happen with the ones that are ready to deconstruct themselves and take the other journey. So it is so important that we see how our indifference, this is the right word, our indifference has been programmed, because through our silence, through the silence of the white people, especially the silence of the European people who are so far away from the consequences of their lifestyles. And I'm sorry, friends, but it's true. Like, I've lived in Europe and I know how sad, how empty the comfort, the silence, the peace is there, because deep down, our souls are one. And deep down, your souls carry all the information of how the accumulation of wealth in Europe is a transgenerational crime that has caused a tremendous imbalance with all the countries that are below the equator, meaning South America and Africa and parts of Asia. So it is your chance, it is your opportunity to address that, to really see, remember what your soul knows, to give meaning to all the wealth, to give direction to everything that has been accumulated, to return it to its origin, to make it a big celebration of reparation, a big gesture of the forgiveness, of the Christian forgiveness that we first need to give to ourselves, so that we get out of the self-shame, of the self-accusation, of the blame that just paralyzes us in toxic shame. So we need to transmute that, to make that into artivism, into gestures that create on a very practical level, to support those who have suffered the effects of our way of living. And it does not necessarily have to do with your particular bloodline. It's more of the soul of our cultures. Like, each country has a soul. Each country, each region actually is a chakra on the kundalini, on the serpent of the planet. So we do need to join that, and bring the lower chakras power. Like, Europe has a lot of connection with the solar plexus, the heart, and bring that through America, through the ability to express, enlightening the media of the narrative of integration, to align with the vision of integration that Brazil is, because in Brazil, we don't get to live the illusion of comfort, of everything is okay, because you go down your building, there are people living on the streets that have in their eyes the pain of the slaves now. So it's like a collapse of past and future. You just have to come to Brazil to have a world class, and to understand what and how your gifts, your resources, your networks can serve what needs to happen from this point to the whole planet. And then everybody will have a different calling, but the vision needs to be unified, and this is our chance to do it. Yeah. So I want to finish by truly reading what I wrote, that I believe is a very important statement to be made really precisely. All the wealth accumulated in European coffins by means of exploitation of indigenous life is what is required to take Brazil out of this crisis. We are no longer a colony. And real democracy means that every city has the right to have its own laws that include the demarcation of indigenous lands as a priority in relationship with the measures of environmental protection that have already been put out and signed up by our countries, like the measures that we need to be taking on to ensure the continuation of our species on this planet. So we do need to start investing in the future, and this is really the opportunity to do it. What is making Europe and the whole world sick is living in a state of dis-ease, out of ease. And ease is only possible when your consciousness is aligned, when your consciousness is clear, transparent, free from any guilt, any need of hiding anything. And most of us live in hiding of our soul consciousness, of the responsibility that we carry. Money is an alive spirit called Aje. It is an alive um, currency that is meant to circulate. In Yoruba culture, there is a divinity of prosperity that is called Aje, and how it manifests many times is through shells that are the accumulation of life in the bottom of the ocean. And they are created in a spiral motion. And what this means is that there is the need of circulation. Investments are meant to connect us because what goes around comes around. And we have been programmed to invest in a system that is destroying lives. So what comes back to us is death, is disease, is sickness. And this will happen if we continue going to a road of the easy path, the fast food path, the Amazon right in your door path. And the transformation will happen as we start to become self-responsible, self-generative, creative, um, involved entities with our cultures, with our communities. Yeah. So this is really an invitation, and it really all comes back to like our homes, because the fear-based mentality where we were raised on leaves our creative energies blocked, repressed, and they become poisonous to ourselves first and foremost. They become violence, they become aggressions, they become addictions. So the only solution is to heal our roots, to reset our bodies, to purge ourselves from the wounds of the past. And forest medicine, indigenous ceremony is there to support you. So now is the time to receive support and give support back. This is the real invitation that I want to share with you. That is a mutual beneficial place if we just get into the right mindset, so that if our roots are free, our creative potential is wild, is ecstatic, and it's powerful to bring real change, to bring real manifestations into our worlds, and real beauty and real connection, and the sense of integrity, of being able to sleep with a sense of, I'm so aligned with divinity. There is nothing more precious in the world than mental sanity, and this is what we need to be investing on. And this is where it is. Look at this place and you will see. So I believe um, I will complete here, sharing that Brazil is the only country in the world that has the name of a burning bush. If you have any memories of the God that appeared in the Bible in a burning bush, take a deeper look at what it means. The whole world is full of symbolism. Being the only country in the world with the name of a tree, but a tree that was used um, to add value to imperialist culture. We want to set our lands free to come back to being the Pindorama, the land that was free, that was um, weaved by free nations, free indigenous cultures, self organizing communities, you know. We don't need so many intermediaries between ourselves and the sacred. We need just the right stewards, the right warriors, the right administrators, the right thinkers, the right mothers, you know, the ones that think with the heart of mothers, that can look to everything that is happening simultaneously and make sure that everybody's receiving what they need. It's just like a matter of restoring the balance, the justice on this planet. And it all starts with educating ourselves to live in character. So if you were touched by any means by this information, I ask you to please share it in your own ways, with your own voice, make it yours. Appropriate yourselves of this narrative, enhance it with other people, and spread it. Make sure that everybody's knowing of what is happening now in Brazil. We have until the 7th of June to make an impact on the Congress. Like, we need to get this message around and back into the government, the Brazilian justice system, so that they know the whole world has an eye on them, so that they will not go impune of obeying to money while destroying life, because this is not why we accept their authority. We will only accept, recognize a government, an authority that is assuring life, that is making sure that life stays protected, all lives. And the indigenous lives are the epicenter of animal kingdom, of vegetable kingdom, of mineral kingdom, meaning sources of water, forests, animals being preserved by human beings. They are the keepers of the right role of humanity, that is to be a steward of the beauty, the magic, the love of Mother Nature to us, so that we all thrive, so that we all are happy and free and powerful. Ashe. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Deeply appreciate. And I'm open to further discussions, for further reflections, if they come in peace, if they come in the spirit of collaboration. Shala, shala.